What are some of the signs and symptoms that people might start to feel if they've got an environmental kind of exposure to toxins issue?
So the question isn't really whether you have toxins in your body. The question is just how much. Because we're all exposed. We know that in some of the latest studies, there's 280 plus toxic chemicals found in cord blood. This is umbilical cord blood after a baby is born. We know that there's equal that amount in breast milk,
Can you
right?
say
And
that
so,
number again?
yeah, it's like 287 in this one study that was done. 287 different chemicals found in cord blood.
Wow.
Yeah. So we know that we're coming out of the womb with these toxicities. And we
Okay.
also know that oftentimes these toxicities are getting concentrated over generations. So grandma's mercury that then gets dumped into daughter's mercury, which then gets dumped into granddaughter's mercury, it's actually going to be more concentrated in the granddaughter than it was in the grandmother, interestingly enough. I'm not exactly sure why that happens, but that's generally what we see, which then the more toxins that you have in the body, the more autoimmunity you're going to have. So the immune system is going to react to these toxins and cause inflammation, which is pain and dysfunction. So, in order to figure out whether or not you have these toxins, oftentimes what we're doing is we're looking at the direct measurements of these toxins in the body, usually in the urine. So, we're looking at heavy metals in the urine, and we're looking at chemicals in the urine, and we're looking at mycotoxins, which are mold toxins in the urine. So, that's really the best way to measure these things. And you can't really tell so much based off of symptoms. What I found is that of these 33 different causes, 75% of these causes can be determined by symptoms alone. But of these 25%, those are the heavy metals and the chemicals and the molds, in addition to like vitamin D and B12 and some of those others, that really need to be assessed by labs. Okay, so that's kind of how we're going to assess for those toxicities. But it's really a consequence of getting full of stuff, the FOS. And so the way that I like to picture this is the human is like this rain barrel where over time you're filling up. So for me, my story was that I was born and in New Jersey and I got bitten by a tick and I ate lots of tuna fish sandwiches and gluten and dairy and mercury fillings and on and on, lived in a moldy environment. I pretty much had 30 out of 33 different causes, but I was fine until I wasn't, until there was that straw that broke the camel's back. But it wasn't just from that one thing, it was from that buildup over time. And so that's what people have to understand. And that's why it's so important. It just so happens that these toxins that we're looking at are also not just the causes of chronic fatigue, not just the causes of long haulers, they're also the causes of autoimmune disease, as well as cancer, heart attack, heart disease, stroke, and Alzheimer's. So these toxins have all been found in these different situations where the immune system is getting triggered, where DNA is being damaged, where inflammation is happening. And so consequently, it's just important to, once you realize this, it's about getting it out of your body, these toxins, and about getting it out of your life. So part of our process is always this two steps where, okay, we want to make sure that you don't have ongoing exposure. So we're looking at DNA tests to determine whether there's mold in the environment. We're looking at what products are people using in terms of the chemicals that they find in their kitchen. Some of the stats are that we're exposed to 84,000 different chemicals on a regular basis that haven't been appropriately studied by scientific bodies. And before you leave the house in the morning, you're exposed to 300 to 500 different chemicals. 500 is more along the lines for women because of all the cosmetics and the shampoos and stuff like that, and 300 is more along the lines for men. It's an incredible amount of toxicity, right? And so, but don't, if this is overwhelming you, whoever's listening to this, do not get overwhelmed. Just realize that there is a step-by-step process that you can go through that we're going to talk about in a minute. You just want to be more aware of it and hold that awareness and just every single day do something in order to remove these toxins out of your life.